People say things about children, not care if they heard it or not. So this child was just left, abandoned by his mother, and his grandmother took care of him. And we would talk about it a lot in his presence. So he had an anger for his mother, and in general anger altogether. And we found that the anger also extended to school, and it also extended to think to females more so than to males because of what he went through, what they said in his presence. He didn't have to know that, but parents do that, and people do that, and adults do that around children. My name is Barbara Cooke-Alleyne. I'm a High Court judge. I have 3 sons, youngest being 17, oldest being 27, and middle being 21. So I have a thing for boys because of that. I chose law because law really shows me, I should say. I wanted to be an air hostess when I was little, the uniform and travel freely. Every girl goes through that, I assume. And I loved geography at secondary school. I wanted to explore that in land surveying, but that wasn't for me either. And I love reading. Really enjoyed reading a lot of books. When it's bedtime, I hide under the bed, but I like to finish reading some of my novels. So reading is important for law. I didn't realize that at the time. And I loved to argue with my dad as much as I could to spend time with him. So we argued in the morning when he drive down to school. So that was a good experience for me. And then I realized law, yes. And my mom was working in Parliament at the time with the then Clerk of Parliament, George Branca. And I told him my interest, he was a lawyer. And he brought me lots of books about judges. And I knew then that's where I wanted to be, a judge, not just a lawyer, but a judge. So that inspired me on to go that route. And here I am today. God's favor has blessed me with what I wanted to do. And so that is really good. I was also a magistrate as well at my first step. I didn't want to be that, I wanted to be a judge, but that's the way to get there sometimes. And I enjoyed that. Magistrate sits as judge and jury, decides you're guilty or not guilty. In the High Court, the judge has a jury to assist them in the criminal cases, decide whether they're guilty or not. But with the magistrate, it's up to you to decide that, after you hear all the facts and the evidence, whether they're guilty or not guilty. So it's like a 2 role that you play as a magistrate in that regard, which is a heavier responsibility. You know every criminal in Barbados because they all come through the magistrate court before they can go to any other court. So you know them all by name and face, and they know you as well. When you go in the street, they say, "Ma'am," shout you out in a nice way, stuff like that. But you get to interact with them in a major way. I spent 7 years at District A Juvenile as a magistrate and domestic court. And I think that cemented a lot in me, my desire and passion to help children. You see them come through the door, you realize what they're going through. And it's a holistic approach that the court has when it comes to juveniles. We don't want to imprison them right away. We don't want to remand them. By the time when I sat on the bench to get the certain tests done, government had to pay for them, and they'll only pay if they were at GIS, Government Industrial School. So you had to remand some of them. And that could break your heart sometimes. You don't think they're worthy of going to GIS because they haven't done anything to be remanded. Just to get the system to work for them, you have to send them and get those reports done. And you might find a person coming in who's running away from home. Normally girls wander. And there's a reason why they're running from home. Isn't that they're bad-minded or they have promiscuous? It's that some just need to leave the environment where they're living because of what's going on there. We've changed so much. We left villages, we went to the heights. It was not only a village concept that everyone looks out for each other. That's been gone for a long, long time. That is part of the problem. In a village, you can't go next door and rub anybody because they're going to look up peep and say something and shout at you. You're in the heights, no person see it, they ain't saying nothing, they don't want to get hurt. And they stay in their own little space and do nothing. This is how we've developed as a country. Development has not really been good in that regard, and we lost that touch. Crime affects us all. You might not realize it. It didn't happen to you or your family, but it's a taxpayer's expense that you're paying for. You have persons going to jail, we're supporting them, feeding them 3 times a day, clothing them. So there's expense there, so it affects all of us, it impacts on us. And ripple effect as well. When crime increases and it's a violent crime, then you realize that something needs to be done. Suddenly your eyes open and say, oh, there's crime, there's violence. What are you doing before to prevent it? We do see anger, yes, a lot among the young children who come before the court, and we send for anger management. There's a unit at the psychiatric hospital that deals with that as well. And the anger is a built up of resentment. Some of them is Sometimes withdrawal symptoms from the drugs as well. They become angry with that as well. But mostly it's emotional anger that's been built up over time. What they're experiencing, nobody loves them. Some feel like a slave in the household, doing everything because they're the youngest. You might be getting abused in your house, so you think mommy no, but she's not doing anything about it, and you're resenting her for that. So the females are also angry as well at that as well. They're being abused and nobody's helping them at all. Mom is just turning the other side because the money is coming into the household. We do get some cases where you can actually prosecute the stepfather for that. And I remember one in magistrate court in town, and he got 25 years for that. I had a youngster once who was bullied at school over and over. Decided one day to bring school a knife, so somebody told the teacher was in the bathroom. Obviously got charged for it. He didn't deserve to get remanded either. That really hurt to say, okay, I have no choice to send you there. It was just his last provocation. He couldn't do anything else but do that. But I had to send him there to get the test done as well. So the system at the time indicated that you would have to send him there to get the psychological and psychiatric test done by the government. And that was really hard for some children who are looking to say, but I am not the guilty person, I'm the victim of what's happening at my house. But there's no choice other than get the test done through that avenue. So there's some tough times that you have to go through when you're sitting in juvenile court. And you can see dysfunction in the family quite easily as well. When they come in, you can realize that. And one of the issues is that you have teenage pregnancies and they're not equipped to be mothers. And their mother is still working. So the grandmother experience is not there to be passed on to those children. And I would get some boys who've been experiencing that and will come to the court. Sometimes it's that their father may have died and it's just the mother and the grandmother taking care of them. There's negativity in the house as well to this child who's come in as a financial experience and then who's just add to their burden. And they reflect sometimes on how they treat the child, how he feels at home, how she feels at home. I had one where his dad was killed by gunshot when he was little, so he never knew his dad. But they were reminding him of that. You're going to be just like your dad who died in this way. So he just manifested it, kept on saying it to him. And there was no affection he was getting from his mom. He was crying in court, and she won't hold him, wouldn't touch him. The lawyers wanted to go and give him a hug, but she wouldn't touch him. So sometimes he didn't have that affection as well. And that's also missing that connection. You had a child that you didn't want, a person who's died by gunshot, you got to take care of this child, and your mother doing everything. And the child just developed into what it should not have been developed into. Be a deviant child in that case. He wrote me a beautiful letter when I had to remand him and sentence him. I really was proud of his handwriting, indicating that he was going to appeal my decision. I'm like, yes, go ahead. Perfect grammar, perfect English, but he's been derailed because nobody is actually motivating him at home. He's just reminded that he was the offspring of a man that was killed by a gunshot, and that is what he would be. And that affected his self-esteem, so he chose to say, oh, if I'm bad, I'll be bad then. But he had the ability. When you read that letter and saw what it said and how it was punctuated paragraph, you know you had the ability to succeed academically. You know that. And then there are others who have athletic dreams, they're footballers and so on, and they might lose the opportunity because they've derailed themselves. And as you said, imprisonment is always a last resort for any magistrate or judge when it comes to a young child. And then you find you have to send them there. And the first couple of weeks, they're really angry. A lot of anger management was done there as well with them. They're angry that they're there. They're recognizing that they weren't the only problem, involve their parents making them come to this. But you need to realize already that they have to be responsible for their own actions as well. It's not how your parents were treating you, but it's how you respond. The consequences are in your hand and not in your parents. They're not going to experience the imprisonment, you will experience it. So you do have that both the success, and then you see the ones who don't and have the ability but they just don't succeed. It's actually great personalities coming out of GIS at times. They go in there, they wasted all the time they could at school because they've been deviant, not going to school regularly. But when they get into the program and some have the academic ability to do it, they can actually excel in there and leave certificates, they leave their CXCs, their 4 and 5 CXCs with that to move on to another area in their life. So you realize that when they were in a home environment, nobody encouraged them to study, they didn't have to study, they were not comfortable for anything. Report will come home, parents will say nothing, they just accepted it because they're busy in their own world, and the child has the ability to actually excel. So you can see that happening there and realize that it's possible that they can actually survive and come back out quite strong. And we do have lots of success stories of one family who's done tremendously well when they leave there and go into certain areas of in Barbados working and that. The study, I met a lady last week I was telling you before that I dealt with in magistrate court, and she remembered me. She has 4 boys now. She's a nurse. Her life is turned around, and she just wanted to thank me for what I did for her at the time. Just so she said she wants to tell other person about her experience as well, the journey she took. She's married for 18 years, so your life can change depending on how you see yourself when you get there. GIS has some benefits. You still go to school. When you're remanded, you're supposed to still get in your notes from school and so on. That might not always happen. But once you're there, education continues, either vocational or academic. So they leave there with some kind of betterment in their life. That is the whole idea. The issue for me is that when they leave, they're going back to the same environment. You go back home at 17, same environment you're going back to. How do you deal with that? Everything that you've been taught is that thrown away just like that. Do you want to have something better than your colleagues? They're just happy to see them there, because you missed them for the 7 years or whatever you've been in, or the 5 years, or I should say. It's normally 3 to 5, can't go past 5. And for me, that's the concern. What happens next when you go back to that environment? Are they strong enough to withstand what actually got them there before from the block? You need to get parents involved, first of all, not just the children. You need to reach out to the parents as well so that they can have a part and understand what role they play. Something I always say to myself and laugh: I need a license to drive a car, but not to be a parent. Which one is more important, being taking care of a child or of a car? So I always laugh when I think of that. But you need to have parenting classes. Another part of my ministerial arm is bringing the parents into the action so that they get some seminars from us, some webinars on different aspects on loving your child and being a good parent. We tell them about what we taught the children as well in there. Most of all, to understand what their role is for the child. It is not just to bring home the stuff for them. It's emotional. It's time to spend time with the studying. You see children coming into the system. And what I recognize as a juvenile magistrate is that they didn't understand that once they turn 11, they got to be charged for a crime. They're at primary school doing as they please, and nothing is happening. Just talk to the parent if they do come to talk to the principal. But when they turn 11 and going to secondary school, the same behavior, the stealing, the smoking, because some of them actually talk about smoking drugs when they're at primary school. There. So out of that challenge of dealing with these children, I saw a solution. I recognized I need to let them know that age 11 was a critical age for them. So I developed a project with the National Criminal Justice Prevention, which is now National Criminal Research and Planning Unit, a program for children from 11 years old when they finish 11 plus. We bring them out, all of them we could have. We actually got every school in 2019 to come out. We got that sponsorship from the Maria Holder Memorial Trust, and that made it possible. But the idea of the project was to let them know about being responsible at criminal at 11 years old, that the actions now may have legal consequences, and we developed a program called In the Winner's Circle. In that program, we brought in the police, Barbados Police Service, now called that, and they assisted us with the drug aspect of it. We looked at drugs that is very prevalent in the schools. When we do a test on a child, it may not come to the court for drugs, but there's drugs in the system, and that's probably what caused the action of committing the crime. So we do a lot of drug tests on them. So we thought we need to let them know about the dangers of drugs. So we brought in Barbados Police Service for that aspect, because they have a program in the secondary schools that deal with that part of their project. We brought in family planning as well, because the body is changing, and you need to understand. Most parents are not comfortable talking about that with their children. They say nothing, so they learn at school about it from their friends. So we thought it was critical to have that done at age 11 as well, as they're changing, understanding the changes, understanding what could happen if they have sex. So we always push the abstinence of sex at that age for them, and show it can actually ripple effect on their parents, supporting that child, Pampers, the person probably to help support that child. And you got to come home from school for 9 months, and that person could stay in school. The boy stays in school. So let them know things like that, and let them have the idea we should abstain, we shouldn't do drugs. We look at bullying, because that is always everywhere. No matter which school you go to, we want to call the older or the new secondary schools, that is there, how you deal with a bully as well. We looked at the law and you. We're still under the old law. We have the Criminal Justice, Child Justice Act. I don't think it is proclaimed as yet, so we're still under the old law. And on the old law, we have something called status offenses that only children can commit. We talked about that. So wandering, when you leave home or go somewhere with permission of your parents, you're missing for days, that's a charge. Begging, went up there with a sponsor sheet on your own, something can happen to you. live in a circumstance that can lead to prostitution. You found someone who's making a lot of money and they tell you how to do it, you hang out with them, so then we will charge you for that as well. So hanging around thieves as well is also one. I laugh at that because sometimes with thieves in your household, so it's not your fault that you're hanging with thieves. But I laugh at that one. But these are status offenses that only children can commit. So we explain to them what that means, that at age 11 they can be actually brought before court for that crime. And then we explain why it's only peculiar to them. Because I can leave them as an adult and don't say where I'm going. I can go with a sheet. I'm an adult. My brain is fully developed, I hope, to a certain point. I know when to back off and not beg for the money anymore. But the child will say, you know, I want this money from my school. I might tell you, oh, come around the corner. Before that, you know, it's assault on the child. So it's there to protect the children. But it is really a status offense that only they can commit. And it's really outdated now in the world, in the new world. And I believe the same thing will happen here as well. In respect of wandering, I don't think there's any more charges for that. And that was the main crime for girls, wandering. For boys, it would be theft. You might find them involved in drugs. But for the girls, 80% of it was wandering. Always wandering and disappearing. And when you check, is something happening at home? Sometimes a child just needs to be told that they're pretty at home instead of hearing it elsewhere, especially a girl. And then you just go off track. You go to meet this person who's a lot older than you, take advantage of you, and you disappear for a couple of days. But the affection is not there at home. They're not told how pretty they are. Somebody else says it to them, make them feel good. At home, their self-esteem is lowered, and this person makes them feel better. I recognize the person's just using them for a purpose. You don't recognize that because the brain is not fully developed. That's one of the things you have to learn as a magistrate in juvenile court. They can make some foolish decisions because they haven't fully grown into what should be mentally, right? And that is one of the issues that you'll find. Throw a rock at you, hit somebody else, and never enter their head, hit somebody else. You know, you just have to look at stuff like that. They do these things without actually thinking them through, the consequences. They're not at the stage where they're supposed to be more developed. It's at age 25 is the perfect age when your brain is fully developed, you make good decisions. So hopefully that is true, as we all pass that age and look back at what we were doing at 25. And children mimic what they see in society, who's around them. So if you live in a certain area or you hang with a certain person at schools who behave in that manner, you can mimic what they're doing as well. So you'll find that if you find the adults in your area are getting involved in crime and it looks glorious to you, you see them with a big chain and everything, you can do it. And also the middle class don't do it as well because they will hang with the wrong persons at school as well. And the same behavior will be manifested. So that they mimic what they see in their home, mimic what they see in their society. And that is part of it. For me, most of them don't go to church anymore. We have that in us. That background never leaves you. That foundation of God never leaves you. You might stray, but it's just inside you still. What I find funny is that people say to me, "Ma'am, you know, I find God in jail, you know, I read the Bible." I'm like, "You find him before? He was always there. He's not just in jail." You know? But that foundation is lacking as well. Or the parents say, "You want to go to church today?" So they have a choice. We don't have a choice in our time. We would have to go by ourselves. The parents might stay home. But that changed a lot as well. So having that background, that religious background, was important for a child growing up. You need to actually lay that foundation. And I'm not sure how much you're getting it in schools these days as before as well. Because you had religious studies at school, you had the assembly, where you're always learning something about the Bible, and individual classrooms will have as well. And then your house as well will do stuff like that. So I'm not sure how much is being done in the schools at present. But definitely see it as a reduction in the amount of children who attend Sunday school in the various schools in various churches in the island. And that's one of the problems. First of all, to make sure we can curb the violence in society, we need to first accept that there is violence in society, each and every one of us. Even maybe your child that we have, a person who's actually showing and expressing the violence. We need to actually acknowledge that as a country that we do have violence and need to actually take care of it and what we need to do. We need to recognize you're a brother's keeper. I've been that for a long time. You might see someone getting in trouble on the street, you might walk away because they say it's not my problem. Yours could be your problem. You would get involved somehow to protect yourself, but you still get involved to make sure you can stop the violence. It's also about recognizing that the school role is a very simple one, in a way. Teachers are everything, doctors, nurses, advisors, psychological, psychiatrists, everything. But what you need to do is have a program where they have to be involved in extracurricular activities so that they're actually putting their energy into something else. So that's actually one activity that you take on. That can focus from off the street, develop a talent. So parents actually say, encourage them to go to something at school. Yes, they might get home late. Let them do it though, it's important. Having that extra activity can actually change their mindset, their teamwork in that. Learn to be a team, and show that when they do something on the team that can affect the team, everything affects the team, ripple effect. The same thing with your household. You go out there and commit a crime, affecting your entire household. The cost of it, the emotion that's going on in there. So a person actually push their children to do one activity at school. One activity is all it needs. More than one, even better. But they should be doing something at school or outside of school, some activity to keep them enrolled. Parents recognize that they mimic you, so be careful what you say and do in front of them. Domestic violence, children are actually privy to that, and you can actually bring them before the court. The adults who are doing it in front of the child, but that the child is being effective in the city blows that the mother is getting, or they see whatever is happening in the household, it can affect them, and that can lead them in a certain direction. And so we do have the ability under the Act for the police to bring the action on the child's behalf, or the child care board, if they're aware of it, to bring it on the child's behalf. But we need to realize that we must look out for our children, recognize that being a parent is a serious responsibility. It's a life. One of the most important things you can ever do is to be a parent. The responsibility was overwhelming. When I left the hospital, I was then overwhelmed. When I was in there, I was fine. When I brought home my first child, I said, oh there, 18 years. I have to learn quickly what I'm supposed to do in this regard. You know, it can be overwhelming being a parent and working as well. How do you balance that? But find time for them. They need downtime as well with you. You need to see the other side of you, not just the anger, get ready, get out the bath, time. You need to see the other side of you as well, where you just sit and play a game with them, chat with them, talk about the old days, take them to the beach, nothing expensive. Just do something with them as well. They need that connection. They will find it elsewhere. If there's no love in the household, they will find it elsewhere. And this love could lead them being violent in their crimes as well. And they see the violence and where they're going. And I realize that these people still love and take care of me. So that's where I'm going to go. Nothing is happening at home to make me feel happy, secure, or wanted. So parents have to really sit and think about how they take care of their children at home. What time are you spending with them? What memories are you making? Are you doing something positive? Peer pressure will always be there. You'll find that they won't be like their friends. You have that. But you have to pick up the signs on it. It's easy at primary school to know who their friends are, but when they go to secondary school and the social media world that we're on, it's so different. You might never get to see this friend in person that they're with, or the bad behavior that they're actually hanging out with. If you go to class level meeting, you'll be told though, and they're hanging with this wrong crew and they're not doing the work. But you have to first go to class level meeting. So attend everything that the school asks you to attend for your child and make that difference. Parents have a big responsibility, but you can actually create a human being and develop them into a great citizen of Barbados. You can actually do everything you want, and peer pressure is there, you understand that. But they will come back and remember to realize how it's affecting you, who took care of them so much, and how much you love them. It's always that Barbadian story, I don't know how true it is, of the youngster who was stealing pencils at school, teacher's money at secondary school, broke into a house to steal and kill some person, sentenced to capital punishment. Last wish, my mother be there to see him being sentenced. So the mom goes there and he said, I want to talk to you. Come close to me, mom. They whispers in the air, if you would stop for stealing the pencil and the money at school, we'll meet her today. And then he said she bit off his ear, bleeding, as he went on his way down to the gallows. So we have an important role, not just mothers, but fathers. Understand your role, influence your children, and don't co-parent differently. If mommy's punishing him, don't get involved. You want your child to like you more. Let the punishment happen. Talk to mommy separately. If daddy's punishing, we don't want to get punished. Same thing as well. It goes both ways. We have to be cooperating on the same stream. Children are very good at recognizing your weaknesses, and they do it from early that they test you. If I cry, she comes running. Yes, I'm going to cry some more. So they're pretty smart at that. So you need to understand that you have to stand firm. And having that firmness in the home is important. Having that fun in the home is also important. They will find the fun elsewhere and respect elsewhere. So make sure to get it at home. Yes? Reach them in that regard. Reach them in that regard.